Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We have a 3v3 for you guys today on Paddy Field, and it is a community cast, so it was submitted by your W2 form, which I do recommend, as always, that you do fill out, and he's elected to take the Forest Grind in Bravo. By the look of it, I have skimmed a little bit of this game, but most of it is going to be blind as per my norm for community casts, and just because it has been a really rough couple of months to the channel, every like, share, subscribe, and all that YouTuber nonsense that you guys can give me, it really is just pretty awesome, so I would definitely appreciate it. And with that, we'll be on the way here. Now, I don't even really know how I'd split this up 3 lanes. I'm tempted to say you really have to double or even triple in golf at first. Certainly double, then go into Bravo. It looks like that's not what this team is electing to do, with one player basically going over on the right in its entirety. No, okay, it's a little bit of a split here. I don't know. Interesting. So this, by the look of it, okay, we have Dutch YPRs, we have French MX 1390s, we have, okay, this must be a generic blue for deck. This wasn't one pancaking that opener. Look at this. Beast wasn't one gets a lot of hate for being an underwhelming bomber, but against an opening column in the beginning of the game, outside of the woods or any sort of town like that, that seems pretty nice, and this is going to be a lot to keep up with here. So before the engagement starts in Bravo, let's just take a look over on this side. Erkroziekri getting pounded by some South African mobility, but you need a lot of kills to pay for yourself there, and Raskis and Kuriyama are going to be a brick wall. Oh, well, I guess that's spikes. Okay, that's the Terramusti. I thought I recognized that recoilless rifle distinctive sort of shape there. Iroquois are dead, but I'm willing to bet that W2's teammates USO4, Copper Sulf, Copper Sulfate, is taking a bit of a loss in that engagement. This would have been a nice bombing target while it was all clumped up, but my guess is that Peace Pheasant 1, which did get hammered pretty hard, either died or is going to take a little while to come back. So, Grenadiers against Zealous Nietzsche, there need to be mortars here shooting in. There's mortars. See if they start shooting in. They're just Zealous Nietzsche, but can't let yourself get bogged down and that sort of thing. It can be really tough to recover from. And Inflix, ooh, that is a unit you don't see very often, so of course 15 points. And they have that 1925 meter range, 4 HE power against infantry. Could be very, very nice screening this out, as long as you can keep armor away. I guess that's the main challenge here. Conquerors, or Zealous Nietzsche, they will lose to Grenadiers, of course, especially 2. But it's just a matter of how long it takes for them to do it. And the 5 strength assault engineers, not my favorite sort of infantry fighting, well, force for the forest, just because of the 5 strength. Very fragile against mortar, bombardments, anything like that, but this is goofy. This is very goofy. Not a lot of high-end infantry being used there yet. We have Leopard 2, MX 1390 follow-up. I'm curious to see where those guys are going to go, because of course infantry can go down the forest, but vehicles cannot. So this is very much not how I play this map, but I guess that's part of the joy of community cast, really, is you get to see something different, and this certainly is different. Oh, goodness gracious. Let's see some M1Ms are going to just everything there for breakfast and just keep going on. So a lot of YPRs lost there. Beast wasn't one, and look for the kills on those vehicles. It's going to be a tough one, because the M1Ms should have enough armor to survive that, and I don't see any tank corpses, so I guess we'll see if they did or didn't survive here in just a little bit, but my guess is they're fine. Triple Phantom 2. Oh, goodness gracious. Now, what is nice to see is that Snake was able to lock this down. Actually, combined teammates, both of them here, able to lock this down pretty hard. They just need some sort of work against that MI-17, and this is where South Africa can really shine. So I would really want to see a single unit of SASF 90 over there, just because they can fend off infantry, they can fend off vehicles that get close, and they'd be shooting down that MI-17 without too much trouble here. So that would be a really nice tech for that sort of town on the right. And okay, Red 4 has a tick, 62 points to 0. 25 minutes remaining possible in this game, and there does have to be some movement on command vehicles. So we have one coming in from Snake. I'd like to see a cap in Bravo as well. Golf is going to be very hard to maintain, because as long as Red has this forest, there aren't that many places that Green, well, I guess Blue, can cap here, especially with ATGMs threatening on that side. That's really rough. Losing that much of Golf can just outright lose the game as well. It can be very rough to deal with. So we'll have to see how that goes. But Luja and Dewey 90 are a very nice target here for those mortars. 25 points apiece, 75 points just sitting right there. But infantry, of course, does get damage reduction in the forest, so that's more of just tickling them, letting them know that you see them. Almost would have been better to use a bomber on that. If you can guarantee 75 points on the run, that there are a fair number of cheap bombers that can get good work in there. The 50-point Commonwealth one comes to mind. Which I don't know if he has in a generic blue for. It's not prototype, so it should be available. Hey, there's the SASF-90, very nice. Just need to be a little bit farther over if they want to line of sight on the helicopters, and Iroquois Yakuri are going to be a rough thing to deal with. Rough way to take that whole forest, honestly, because they're just linebackers of a unit against any sort of armor whatsoever. But blue really needs to take this forest. I think that's the next big objective. If you take here, then you can pressure in on Triangle Forest, and that will push back so much of Red force on that side. We saw they had a really big investment there as well, so that needs to happen. That section of forest needs to be pushed, and the way that I would do this, frankly, is a little bit weird. South Africa Moto, you're going to be taking a lot of expensive units. Frankly, I would take up-vetted reservists in the 15-point autocannon transport. And what you do is you spread out the reservists, you send them over from over here, and you have the KTs right about back here. And any infantry in this section of forest that shoots is going to be immediately shot by 4 autocannons, which is not a comfortable place to be, especially if you have inflicts to back them up, say, in this town block. That can get reasonable line of sight along certainly the outer curve here, maybe even the inner curve, and this is just going to be an expensive losing engagement for South Africa. You're not really meant to take those head-on engagements against entrenched positions, and you see a lot of Ruakats are getting absolutely hammered. 1, 2, that we can see right there, more dead vehicles along the whole side, and Parapathfinders being taken out as well, so everything that's just in this section is dead, and that's going to be the case until you can use this excellent position over on the right to just squeeze a little bit more, just get that last couple of yards in. Now, I do like the Parapathfinders. They need to be healed up, of course, before they go in, but Bokop, yeah. So the Rattle 20s will do about the same thing. Looks like good positioning as well. Just don't move them anymore. No, stop. Stop. Okay. Or keep going. Yeah, alright, this is going to be tough. XA180s, there's clearly a Baltic player, potentially with the veterancy, this could well be Baltic Moto, and now there's not a lot here to stop that drive. 21 MF, interesting call. I love this plane, by the way. It's kind of bad, but it's kind of goofy, and I appreciate decks that take it. So 85 points, 240mm rockets times 4, 11 HE power will mulch infantry in the open, and even in woods. Not quite so much in towns, but this is going to be very tough to deal with. 30 Yakuri right here, probably another 30 right behind them, and the veterancy on this does mean it's Moto. So these guys are going to be as effective as Yakuri can possibly be in this game without getting, of course, up-vetted completely. Kuben 4s, that was a nice seed plane, but a lot of phantom losses, and this needs to be a constant grind on this side. So you have assault engineers, you have grenadiers, you have infantry, and if you're going to do this, you need to be moving forward and take this ground, especially now that Golf is contested, that Foxtrot is, of course, red for, and that red is pushing back in the town on the right, because if they get in here before you clear out Bravo, then they can effectively double up on that side, or even worse, once they get a foothold, one guy on red keeps pushing here, and this is the sort of engagement that you want to see. So Mochutsun backed by assault engineers, Mochutsun getting absolutely railed by assault engineers, rather. And this is good, this is good, this is good. That's a lot of burst damage. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, if they work for you, they work for you. Not everyone can make the same units work in this game. It's part of what makes it such a joy to really see these community casts, for me anyway, because I see a lot of tactics that I don't necessarily use, and don't even know how to use, frankly, sometimes more than I can fathom. And this time there is a Leopard 2 back here. I guess the T-72s, oh yeah, still 2 of them alive, at least. That Leopard 2 needs infantry screening. It's just too much firepower right there. Ooh, no, maybe not. Well, I sit corrected. Yes, this has been a pretty effective push. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. And on this side, the Yakuri are not getting in for free, but they are getting a lot of cost-effective kills. That Cobra going down, and then Delta Force are very expensive. So 30 points against 10-point infantry in a triple stack, and the Delta Force will lose that 3 against 1, if I'm not mistaken. Unless I missed my mark there, I would bet that they would probably be just fine. But what I do like is that blue has got tick going right here. So Humvee CP from Snake, and in the meantime, W2 is pushing in. And And if these vehicles can get in here, there's a lot of fragile backline units, and that could be a very nice pickup. Of course, Bunker's getting a bit of a cheeky kill, because why not? Oh, come on. Yeah, so if Stu Troopin are in the deck, just bring more. I would like to have seen a constant funnel of Stu Troopin in, just one after another, after another, after another. Getting in here, really locking down that force, because Red Ford can and will push back from here. I've done it before myself. What you do is you basically line this with infantry fighting vehicles and then send cheap screens across. And it's very hard for blue to hold the entirety of the section below the slope. So that needs to be taken care of, and it needs to be taken care of right flipping now. Although, yeah, it's a good exploit. Very nice exploit there. Spread them out, send one to each sort of corner of this woods, make sure that your opponent cannot safely get all of that. Now, CUSO4 has done what I said he needs to do. Pair of Pathfinders, believe it or not, this bridge will obstruct a fair amount of line of sight, so I'd like to see them either over here on the bottom or up here on the top, just really utilizing those optics as much as humanly possible, as much as is possible for them to do. And it looks like Red did still have a couple of units here, but I'd like to see AMX 1390 moving up, YPR of course moving up. If this AMX 1390 was up here right now, these transports coming in would be taking a fair amount of fire, decent rate of fire from the recon tank. Might have stopped a couple of those vehicles from coming in, because I have no doubt that it doesn't even really matter what those infantry are. 3 of them, and 6 of them with the second triple stack, will be able to clear this out, even if it's just Zalaznichi behind an MI-35. So, there's a nice sweep. I don't think it's going to be able to hold, and that is going to be a particular problem. Speaking of problems, yeah, okay, there. So, pair of Pathfinders just don't have the armor piercing to deal with these sorts of infantry fighting vehicles close up, and this section has the dedicated attention of a Baltic Moto player who seems to be pretty capable, to be honest. Terramusti's staying out of reach using those high armor piercing heat guns, and lots of infantry fighting vehicles. Can't talk to them. Oh man, it's been an absolute week. So yeah, well, life goes on. This is of course a hobby that I enjoy quite a bit, but when life is stressful, sometimes it does move over into my recordings, and I do apologize for that. It's not really my intention. Now this is good. If you can get those Y2 frag launchers onto infantry, that would be even that much bit better. So I'd like to see them move over, handle the Zergri. Yeah, I guess, now having said that, if they really just manually targeted against those Kart and Yakuri, catch them in the open, keep these guys from getting into towns, because Kart and Yakuri are such effective town fighters, it's hard to even stress how effective they are. Of course, 15 strength, you have RPDs, you have a Suomi KP, you have the M72A4 Law, which doesn't really matter, but it's still 16 armor piercing, 20 rounds per minute. They can put a dent in infantry fighting vehicles that get too close, and these guys will sweep and clear against infantry all day, twice on Sundays, especially when they're in motorized deck, which of course does give them increased availability. And this is going to be a hard thing. So the ZTC 85-3s, at max range, the 1390s are not going to be doing very well. Oh my goodness. Did those red eyes, did they take down a plane, or was that a blue 4 plane? I can't see. Oh man, 1 strength getting away, you hate to see it. It's rough. Very rough. I gotta compliment the Red 4 players on this pullback. They got their expensive backline units out of danger when a lot of times... Oh, wow. They took that down. Interesting. Yeah, W2 has a style of play that, I swear, I don't understand it, but sometimes it really works out for them. Sometimes not, but when it does, the payoff is pretty amazing. So, it's one of those moments, I guess. So, more Kart and Yakuri, more KKs. Frankly, at this point... Oh, nice go. At this point, you gotta either commit here hard with the South African moto player, which might have a chance of fighting him off, although I think Baltic still has, frankly, some better options there, particularly the Kart and Yakuri. Very hard to deal with, even for South African moto. We have to either commit there pretty hard, or just do something else, so focus on a different engagement. These Iroquois gotta take down that Sea Cobra, and this is the sort of trade that you can't do for very long without having it really impact the rest of the game. So, Iroquois, of course, comparatively cheap, that Sea Cobra pretty expensive, and the Rattle 20s on the ground is a much better answer, but yeah, this section of forest is still red. I would have liked to see the Rattle 20s come behind this section of woods here, and maybe park themselves back this way. Woods will disrupt line of sight from that back forest, and that could have been a pretty big difference, although hard to say. Another 85-3, 140 point tank right there, taking fire from a Leopard 2, which is a brave engagement. Not many people will take that voluntarily, but you know, sometimes Guts and Galgrot will do a lot for you. Ace Roland. That is not a unit you see every day. Frankly, for 45 points, I don't think it's that bad. Even a little bit of armor on it, and of course being non-radar, it can fire in at things like that Feebow. No hit. That's too bad. Feebow, of course, has pretty decent electronic countermeasures, and I'm quite impressed with this. The Navy SEALs, the Bulkop, yeah, fending off the Baltic multiplayer better than I thought they would. Of course, that will... I think it's a 2v1 here almost, but I can't find the third Red 4 player. Yeah, I guess he was over here with expensive tanks. If I were Red right now, I would be pushing into Golf, because that seems like... Holy teamwork, Batman. This is the same Baltic multiplayer who's over here on the far other side. I think these guys are all working together really closely. J7H, second bomber coming in. They did a dedicated 3-player retake against W2 form, and that is going to be pretty difficult to deal with. Of course, answering teamwork here, so Assault Engineers need to get up there against those Reneko Yakety. One of the most cost-effective ways to take them out, and please, 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 this is so expensive. No, 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 no. Oh my goodness, 100 points worth of AMX 1390s right there. And they're running potentially right into Cart and Yakety, right into the jaws of two ZTZ-85 2As. And there was also a command vehicle headed over to Golf, so that's going to start the evening off this match, as Blue is up 131 to 81. But this is going to be a hard thing for them to keep, because right now Red's doing exactly what I said they could do. Zalesnici screening behind, screening in front of the BMP2s and Vidra 2s, things like that. Yeah, that's rough. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think Red 4 has been trading pretty cost effectively for a significant portion of the game, but having said that, this is expensive and it's not going in their favor yet again. So Cart and Yakety getting absolutely mulched by Rattle 20s is one way to make up for that point gap. 50 points worth of infantry there, down to 3, down to 1, dead. Beautiful Rattle 20 positioning from the Blue 4 player CUSO4. And, you know, losing Reneko Yakety against Navy SEALs and Bocop, this is a good thing for the Blue 4 team. I think it's going to come at the cost of Bravo, which is a price that it can't really afford to pay. Oh, Red Eye. I've never seen a player who uses Red Eyes more enthusiastically than W2. It's pretty goofy, but having seen some of those kill lists, it works. It really does. I can't get it too, but you know, I'm not the one playing today, so if nothing else, we'll show you guys something that you don't see every day. Yeah, this is the issue. So 85 2As moving forward. There's a single Brave Humvee CP in here. I wouldn't have even done that. That's pretty scary. And I guess there's Buffalo's 85, which do have Milan F1s, but this really can't deal with an armor push. And now that the 2As are up on the high ground, there needs to be an answering helicopter, probably as far as back here, so you can still get the ATGMs on. And one thing that is tough for the Red 4 player to do, I think, at this point, is bring anti-air forward effectively, because it either has to be infantry that climbs these sorts of cliffs, or it's going to be really, really just tough to line up. But Roland's get a kill for second one. No, looking for... Oh. Yeah, pretty unfortunate. Just out of range, I think. And these guys don't have a stabilizer. Okay. Well, Cobra can at least get a stun. If Cobra can get a stun here... Oh, I need to get the rocket pods online. Nice kill. Entering shots. Yeah. So much armor. So much armor indeed. This is, of course, the player who, while I can't pronounce their name, we haven't really seen much of them compared to the other two. So, of course, I can only do my best on the Red Force side. Has been doing a pretty consistent infantry grind here. We also did see Rebel for a while over in Bravo, but it looks like their third player is now getting really involved. The ZTZ-85 2s and ZTC-85 3s. Oh, come on, Jigsaw Hwagi Bond. There's the shots. 2 misses. And that last crucial miss, I think, will let the 85-3 potentially get away. No, he has no place to go. Oh, that's a beautiful kill. That is a beautiful, beautiful kill. Jigsaw Hwagi Bond, while not my favorite, for 15 points, yeah, fair enough. I just think I think Reskas and Korima are just straight better. I don't remember the accuracy stat though off the top of my head. Could be that's different. But 16 AP, the same 1400 meter range. Yeah. Yeah, well. And hey, here they paid themselves off quite well. Quite well indeed. And if nothing else, that should go toward making the kill death list at the end either satisfactory or maybe slightly less unsatisfactory. Of course, that is sometimes the best you can hope for, especially in these big team games where if you really get hammered 3 against 1, 2 against 1, it's really tough to deal with that. It's really tough to come back from that later on in the game. So it can be a little tough. Anyway, KM113A1's Jigsaw Hwagi Bun. It's a nice combination. Firepower, M2 Brownings, and of course the recoilless rifles off of those infantry. Let's see, we have Rebel, we have more Rebel. It looks like I can only do my best is probably trying to deal with that right side again, and this is always something that confuses me. Ooh. Okay, so Snake is out, leaving just W2 and CUSO4. This is something that confuses me about Paddy Field. I know we've seen a huge investment on this side from both Blue 4 and Red 4, and I just don't quite understand it. They're fighting over something that viciously that's not golf, and I can't help but think that if there's a little bit of a smoke here, a little bit of a smoke here, you could probably have shot the gap, gotten into square, and caused a lot of havoc there. And that is at least playing over the objective, right? Because keep in mind, this is Conquest. This is not destruction. The goal is not kills. The goal is zone control. And it seems a little weird for both sides to have a command vehicle in golf, then be spending so many points over on the side where it doesn't really matter all that much, particularly for I can only do my best. So, from the Red 4 perspective, this section has been locked down pretty hard for a while. There's Formosa coming in, there's Renako Yekuri coming in, moving across the open ground. It's going to be a bad formula here as the Ruakats get their guns online, and just take this and send it right down golf. You have the opposite thing in your favor. You have control over Triangle Forest, over right here as well. You have control over Square. Bravo is now capped by the Red 4 team and controlled by the Red 4 team. Just go right down the pipe, finish them off, hit golf, and don't really care if they get this for right now. It's fine. See, here's the thing. This section of forest, it can leverage you into Foxtrot, but if Red 4 controls all of golf, it's still pretty useless. So I would have loved to see these guys used in a just different location. I think it would have been a lot more effective for the Red 4 team to have finished this game off a little sooner, because it does look like Red 4 is certainly in the lead now, 137 to 132 with 7 minutes potentially left in the game. Of course, we don't quite have, oh yeah, we're pretty close to that. I guess it was only a 30-minute timer. Oh well, sometimes shorter games are pretty nice. They do have a little bit different tactics than your standard 40-minute, just because some of the math changes, like how much resupply you have. Well, you have the same amount, but how much resupply you need over the course of the game can afford to be a little bit more of a resupply burn than otherwise. That's an unfortunate miss. Probably a little close, I think. Some missiles have minimum turning distances, but the Wild Weasel 5 getting out, pretty unexpected as far as I'm concerned. That was very much not how I would have thought that would go. My seed plane would always get killed there. Every single day, twice on Sunday. So Delta Force, Assault Engineers, Avenger, this is left over I think from Snake, and it looks like W2 is not really paying attention to it, but he does have more availability now. That's down to 2v3, and of course higher income per person, so the overall income's the same, but sometimes that really does make a difference when it's more concentrated in one place. It can either, well, it can either help or hurt depending on the player, depending on the strategy. I tend to find that it helps me oftentimes, because it effectively allows you to nearly double somebody without having to actually coordinate with another person, right? So you can make a lot of progress on the front that was struggling, and then rotate over afterwards. But Carvers, wonderful air superiority fighters here. I really do like these guys. It took me a little while to get used to them. Of course, only having 2 of the longer range missiles is not great, but they're 5 HE power and they're 70% base accuracy, which is so huge. That's such a large number for this game. Usually you won't see anything approaching that. And having 2 of them means that you can make up for the fact that each one of them carries 2 missiles, which is definitely a detriment. Now, it's very expensive. You do have to get a decent return on investment to make that worthwhile, as opposed to, of course, the Phantom 2 method, which is, hey, if it gets a kill and I lose one, that's fine. It's still probably paying itself off in that single go. If it doesn't, at least I'm not doing all that much of a, well, harm to my own bottom line, my own economy, and all of that. More Jigsaw Hoggy on and Cam 113A1s. I know that W2 probably wants these guys back in the front part of this forest, but you do have to be a little bit careful just because they are a little bit fragile. Kind of lucky that there was only one man left, and yeah, there was a coordinated push here, but the second you still see red blips, it's always better to take with lines over specialized infantry, especially when that is going to be a big bomber on the way here. Let's see if the positioning is good, and yeah, pancaking that entire town section, almost like that bomber was made to take out that section of town. So that firing pattern that he had was really beautiful. So, Pions, Charioteers, what I can say, definitely, Blue 4 is getting the better of the engagement over here, not in the zone that matters. Oh my goodness. And throw things at people. Metaphorically, of course. This is starting to look a little bit rough. I have a selection of favorite words. Goofy, rough, oh, I guess those also count. From time to time. It's a thing I'd heard people who did podcasts and things like this say earlier. Sometimes they get stuck with one particular word for any given recording. Unless someone points it out to you, it's a little bit hard to recognize sometimes, and that is a red blip on the side, Z9As, moving over from the Red 4 player whose name I don't quite know how to pronounce here, and that looks like it's not spotted. So, of course, the Cobra is close enough to have spotted it. These Phantoms are not moving in. They need to be moving in. Yeah, it's 2 Z9As. Those guys probably dropping off Special Forces is my guess. Not too familiar with Red Dragon's helicopters, but for 25 points this doesn't look too terrible, and now the Phantoms are closing in. And that's 1, let's see, not quite 2, 1 strength left. Should be enough to kill anything unless it's 15 strength infantry in there, which I can't imagine it would be at this stage. Phantom 2's closing. That's the kill. Very nice. That could have been pretty bad if they gotten behind there. Of course, it already is sort of not looking great, but it can always get worse. Speaking of, these rhinos are out of ammunition. You need to have those resupplied because those HQ-61As are sitting right there in the open. Perfect rhino target, especially with 2 of them. It's going to be very, very easy to get those kills. And HQ-61As are pretty expensive. Now, they're not irreplaceable, but they are definitely very expensive. And there's been a huge emphasis on air in this game, so that would maybe allow you to do a last-minute air cover push, something like that. Yeah. Huh. Never underestimate the Ontos. That's surprising. I prefer the wheeled versions, but they are a little bit less capable in terms of directly getting into combat. Of course, not having the same number. I think the Ontos has 4. Let's take a look. Yeah, 1, 2, no, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I swear, whoever made these probably was a fan of at least a little bit of Cyberpunk. Look at the rate of fire on those melting elite infantry that had the misfortune of being seen. If only there was any infantry up there in Bravo right now, those Ontos probably would have been able to win a decisive infantry fight. This is going to be pretty much all we've got, and I have to say, the pressure that W2 put in to take Bravo was certainly very good. It's just hard to keep that when you're getting 3 people putting their attention on you at one point in time. And I guess my only comment for the team in general would be fight over the zone. Maybe fight over on the side a little. But look at all these points. And yeah, the Red 4 player over here, I can only do my best, was also pouring points into that zone. But I just still rather have that fight over golf, because look, you won it. This is good, you won. But you didn't win where it matters, and that means that Red was able to tick here undisturbed for a very long amount of time. We saw bombers at the beginning, we never saw them again. We saw good pressure into golf at the beginning. Admittedly, they got peeled back pretty hard. But even if you're just going in and saying, hey, you know, you're a little too comfortable there, let's make you bring some stuff in, let's make you put reinforcements in that section, or lose it. You know, sometimes you take it, sometimes you get the +1, and sometimes you make them buy a lot of reinforcements here, which then gives you success in other areas, which can be very, very nice indeed. Last AMX 1390 push by the looks of it, and if they can get the Lujan Dewey, that's certainly worthwhile. Just gotta be a little bit careful here. Angles in this section are very tricky, and the 1390 is not exactly the world's most resilient tank. Yeah, Lujan Dewey 90, pretty expensive, that's good. Would have been nice to kill that Kobe M4 in the background as well, but I don't think they're gonna have the positioning to quite do that. Yeah, BMP2s. I wouldn't be surprised if these guys would win a fight close range against 1390s. Of course, faster rate of fire in the 1590s, but the right angle, and yep, that's a kill. And they can get probably a second kill very quickly here. Let's see. 23 seconds left. We will go over a couple of unit highlights for W2 form as this game closes. It is my custom for Community Cast, and most games, to be frank. 2631 to 3210, COSO4 did 2786, 1985. Yeah, he's the one who spent the whole time bullying that Baltic Moto player, who did still have successes in other places. It looks like Snake really took it on the chin, and that is going to be enough to lose you a team game sometimes if one of your teammates just gets absolutely bopped. Happened to me in a 2v2 recently, and yeah, it's a little not fun when that happens sometimes. But hey, that's it's a multiplayer game, it's a team game, it's public lobbies. You get what you get. Now, highlight units. I thought there were going to be more kills in the Peace Pheasant 1 off of that opener. Looks like most of the Red Force stuff, unfortunately, was able to avoid it. Phantom 2 with the J7H, 25SK, C9A, and the Lee Ren that were inside it. Pretty worthwhile Phantom 2 right there. Pretty worthwhile Wild Wheels. So nice anti-radar work for both of these guys. FLASFL 256, Cube M4, another FLASFL 256, and a PGZ 95. I believe that last one is 70 points. These guys almost certainly paid for themselves pretty well. Yeah, I think the real trouble was dealing with the Red Fort tanks. And then ordinarily you'd want a bit more value out of the Panzer. I don't know what H stands for, but the Panzer Howitzer. That's just a guess. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Always happy to learn. Yeah, that mechanized grind just needed to be a bit more cost effective than it ended up being. But that's what we've got for you guys today. Hope you did enjoy, and see you again real soon.